For the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, a street fight, Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch, under the stipulation that if Lyra loses, then she can never again challenge for the Intercontinental Championship as so long as Becky is still champion. All right, so Becky Lynch comes out to a new theme song from a band I'd be called the Wonder Years. From what I hear, sounds pretty cool. I'm glad it was not Def Rebel, because Def Rebel tends to have a lot more misses than hits when it comes to making theme songs that get you emotionally connected to these wrestlers, particularly outside of a few, and they pretty much do nail some all bangers when it comes to the Samoan family or the bloodline. That being said, though, I'll have to hear what the theme song sounds like on its own and stuff like that, but it sounds pretty good. I did kind of pick up, maybe it was just a little bit more quieter in the arena, kind of a more chill, lower vibe. No, not as upbeat as Becky Lynch, but hey, that fits more for her character right now. That being said, from here, yeah, it does sound like a lot of work was put into it, though. But both women, they start off by slapping one another multiple times. When the match gets to the outside, Becky Lynch grabs out a kendo stick, but it hits out of her hand. But yeah, it's hit out of her hand by Lyra, who grabs a crowbar. Now, at one point, Becky Lynch is thrown by Lyra Valkyria into one of the ringside photographers by accident as the man was walking across, and you could see Lyra Valkyria basically break character for a moment, you know, going like, Becky, like, oh no, I'm so sorry, and he's like, I'm about to beat you again, Becky, like, so that was interesting to see there. But yeah, they were saying no one is safe from these two women at ringside. So at one point, Becky Lynch, she puts a chain around Lyra Valkyria's mouth, like, you know, she's got it in like this, and then she like starts pulling back, tugging her in between, like, well, basically like the ring post, and puts her leg on the ring post and pulls back. So she's certainly at that point has it gets a lot of leverage on there and everything. From there, Becky Lynch then starts going ham on Lyra Valkyria with the kendo stick at one point, going from a golf swing as she was in Happy Gilmore too. So that was a cool reference that they made there. Becky Lynch, she eventually brings in a couple of chairs and a toolbox and uses the toolbox on Lyra Valkyria to like to hit her on the side of the shoulder. Now Becky Lynch then zip ties Lyra Valkyria's hands together in front of her, and at this point I'm thinking, why not the back? Because if you go in the back, there's a lot less she can do to defend herself, because when you're in front, you know, she could still swing and, you know, do that and do some double axe handles and stuff, and of course this would end up costing her a little bit later in the match in terms of what I was saying. So yeah, from there she pulls out a wrench and just starts hitting Lyra Valkyria in the midsection twice. By this point, Wade Barrett on commentary is asking, what's the point of Lyra Valkyria kicking out when she can't defend herself? Becky then does the Beck Exploder onto a chair, but Lyra can't defend herself with her hand zip tied. And then there's a spot taken right out of Randy Orton versus John Cena in 2009, and I think it was that Breaking Point pay-per-view where it was like all submissions. And Becky Lynch, she then she sort of like puts Lyra Valkyria and hangs her from the top rope, and she's got her zip tied, so Lyra is basically hanging on there, and she just starts going ham. The first Kindle stick just completely explodes because it had been used so much, and then the second Kindle stick, she just like bam, 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 just starts going ham on Lyra's midsection with that, and it's a pretty cool moment where Lyra gets Becky in between her arms, and Becky tries to get away, but she can't because she zip tied her in the front, just like I was saying. Why not do it from the back? So she can't get out of there, and she's trying to squat down to get out of there, but Becky, Lyra won't let her go, and Lyra then basically turns into like a belly to belly suplex. And things like that, and Lyra Valkyria starts getting back to Becky Lynch with multiple kicks, double forearm punches. Like I was saying, you can do that in the fore, and you know when it's you're zip tied in the front, because her hands are still zip tied. And then there's a cool part where she runs up the steel chair, jumps off the steel chairs, and does a drop kick to Becky Lynch. After this, basically Becky Lynch, Lyra, she does a no hands moonsault, literally like this. does a moonsault off the top of the rope to Becky Lynch. So this is really cool to see, especially from this point in the match. Becky Lynch is losing essentially to a no-arm woman at this point, basically. She's getting her butt kicked by her. Lyra Valkyria, she manages to get to the turnbuckle post padding remove, but Becky Lynch comes up from behind her and throws her out of the ring, but then loses her, and clearly at this point she's gone on the ring, and Becky Lynch doesn't know. She's like, which way did she go? Which way did she go? Where is she at? Where's she at? Now Lyra Valkyria, she then unleashes a fire extinguisher on Becky Lynch, and after trying so long to break her hands free from the sharp part of the fire extinguisher, she goes under the ring, and then she must have found some sort of scissors or knife and everything, or maybe they had a ring agent under there that cut it for her. They had something there, and from there, it is open season with, I believe, a kendo stick that Becky Lynch is just getting messed up with, basically, that Lyra grabbed out of her hands. From here, Becky, she launches, Becky Lynch picks up a chair, but Lyra Valkyria does a drop kick through the bottom ropes and smashes the chair into Becky's face. From there, Becky Lynch, she tries to do the manhandle slam from the top of the steel steps, but Lyra is able to counter and do the night wing of the padding outside. So I really hope her tailbone's going to be with that, because there's not much padding support out there. Once the action gets back into the ring, Lyra Valkyria is pushed into the exposed turnbuckle that she took apart, and this right here, and Becky Lynch then delivers a manhandle slam to the two-seated chairs that Lyra had jumped off of earlier on, and from there, Lyra manages to kick out at another near fall, and the fans in the match are chanting, "This is awesome," because these ladies were going at it for sure. There's a really cool spot I've never seen before with a chair that happens, where Becky Lynch places Lyra in between the chair. So the way you have the spine part of the chair, and then you have the seat of the chair where your butt goes, right? So in between that spacing area, Lyra is put in between there, so she's completely almost bound. Basically, all you can see from that part of the chair is from her forehead all the way down, like halfway down to her midsection. And what Becky Lynch does is she sort of basically just keeps ramming her into the announce table front first, and Wade Bear just talking about how that's hurting the sternum, and then Lyra does try to fight back, where she takes the back part of the chair and tries to squash Becky in between the chair and the turnbuckle post, but it doesn't work too effectively, and Becky Lynch then takes the legs part of the chair, and there's a space that she's able to put in between the announce table, and then she gets on the announce table, and Lyra is trapped right here, and the way they have it, Becky Lynch jumps off the ladder and goes right onto what was the spine part of the chair, and it sort of like looks like it just brutalized her, crushed her, like, oh, almost like her chin went face first. Lyra did a great job of just selling, great job of looking like she was out of it, basically. And then from here, Lyra looks like she's about to get finished off with another crowbar by Becky Lynch. But as she goes back, and she's holding it for a while, I'm like, what's going to go on here? What's going on? And what ends up happening is it's Bayley who grabs the crowbar, and from there with the crowbar, Becky, from the crowbar, Becky just starts, she's basically doing peer pressure to Bayley, saying, do it, take her out, and Bayley's contemplating, but instead she ends up going against Becky Lynch there, and there's one point she gets Becky Lynch up against the barricade, and so Bayley runs towards there, but Becky's able to get out of the ring, and this sends Bayley flying over the barricade, and there's a really cool spot here where Becky is like on the ground, is on the table resting, and out of frame, out of nowhere, Lyra Valkyria comes into frame with a top rope leg drop that sends Becky crashing through the table. Epic spot, didn't see it coming. Love the way this was shot. This was phenomenal, and stuff like that. So as the action then from there goes back into the ring, it looks like Lyra Valkyria is going to win, but Bayley gets on top of the ropes and swings and with her fist wrapped up in the steel chain, and from there Becky, she gets out of the way, and the steel chain fist that Bayley is now rocking hits Lyra Valkyria, knocking her out, and Becky Lynch is then able to score the 1-2-3 to retain the WWE the Intercontinental Women's Championship. Thus, Lyra Valkyria can never again challenge for the Intercontinental title so long as Becky Lynch remains champion. And as the match goes off here, Bayley, it's all thanks to Bayley. Bayley is just looking in disbelief. She's like, oh snap, because she knows she really effed up now, getting involved in this. Granted, if she didn't get involved, Lyra probably would have been done earlier in the match the way the story was playing out. Overall, this was an excellent match. It was, as you could tell by all the notes I was taking in, I was heavily invested in this match. Man, I'm actually thinking I'm going to say it here. I believe out of the 3 women matches that we got, this stole the show. And I have been a huge fan of Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria's matches going back to NXT. I think this was their 4th match, and these women have killed it every single time. And I expect this to rank very highly when I rank the matches. I mean, right off the bat, like I said, I thought this was the women's match of the weekend, easily the women's match of the weekend. So hats off to Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria for putting on another classic. All right, next up, we had